edition of the Yamhill Leadership Roundtable. We've got Mayor Michael Cate from Amity and Salem Kaiser School District, of course, since we talked about that. We've got Keisha Wydrow from Delphine School and West Valley Sheridan Chamber of Commerce and the Revitalization Committee. We've got Councilor Kelly Minke from the City of McMinnville. We have Representative Ron Noble. And really, I feel like I should always put your house district number on, but I always forget if it's 23, 24, 25, and so forgive me.
That's no problem. It's 24.
Okay.
I can put that on there. Yeah.
Sounds good. I'll rename you. We have Joyce Fleming from Congresswoman Bonamici's office, and I believe we have Commissioner Mary Sarah here as the phone. So welcome, everyone. And I'd love to start with a congressional update. A lot of things seem to be happening over in Washington, D.C., but a lot of things are happening in Yamhill County and Congressional District Number 1. So Joyce, welcome, and what would you like to tell people today?
Well, thank you, Commissioner. The Congresswoman was in Yamhill County over the weekend. She was home for the weekend and went to visit the Yamhill County Fairgrounds. And yes, thank you, Commissioner Kula, for helping make that happen. She also visited the Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue Station in Newburgh and went up to a fire site, the Chehalem Fire, an area where they were still extinguishing some of the fire, which I guess they will be for quite some time. It was just an amazing visit. She was so grateful to have that personal experience there, to see hands-on what people have been doing. She was amazed by the generosity of the community, the dedication of everyone that pitched in at the fairgrounds to take care of animals, the firefighters who worked for days without breaks. Oh, I'm sorry, I just lost. There we go. So yes, thanks for making that happen. And yes, everybody has already voiced all of these feelings about how amazing the community is, but it was just great for the Congresswoman to be able to see that for herself. So they are now back in Washington, D.C. Currently, the House is focused on getting a continuing resolution passed. They are hoping to get one passed that will fund the government through December 11th. That, I guess, hit some snags and is still in negotiations. But that's been the focus right now. I also wanted to mention that we have been hearing from several wineries about the effects of the wildfire on the grapes. Hi, Joya. And we hear those. We are looking at a smoke taint insurance that we worked on a few years ago with colleagues from California. That is going to be something that will be addressed in the coming months. In the meantime, there are some COVID assistance programs through USDA that if anybody needs more information about that, we have a little bit of information and we can certainly get more. So please don't hesitate to reach out on that. I also wanted to mention that Al Bannon will be returning from parental leave in the maybe next week or the following week. So thank you all for letting me fill in for Al so they could spend time with their new little guy. It's been a pleasure, and you will see them very shortly. So that's what I have. But again, as always, please reach out with any questions, or especially with all of the disaster assistance that is pending. Some of it's been approved, some of it is still pending approval. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to research whatever it is you're curious about.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Joyce. I really appreciate you joining us and kind of filling in for Al. And I really appreciate the Congresswoman coming out and taking a look at the site of the fire and talking with the fire crew, and also talking with Gary Wirtz, the fair manager, and the OSU Extension folks and the 4-H. So she really got a lot of interviews in.
She was, yes, and I just have to give a shout out to the 4-H kids, because she gave a huge shout out to the 4-H kids. She said they were amazing. What they did, you know, just to address problems was extraordinarily impressive. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. And please tell her thank you for looking at the smoke taint crop insurance. And it may be worth a text or a phone call to talk about smoke impacts to other farming sectors, and whether there's USDA and crop insurance that can be considered for that. Because I know there were a lot of folks who held their employees home, and that represents this time of year a huge loss of income and a loss of work time. So
yes,
something to think about.
Yes, okay, great. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or other comments for Joyce? All right, then I will move on to Representative Noble, who already unmuted himself a moment ago. But what would you like to tell people in the community, and welcome, sir?
Yeah, my apologies for that. Didn't realize I was not muted as I'm sniffling, and and my apologies to Joyce for that. I am thrilled to hear about the Congresswoman's focus on some of the smoke damage in crops, and would love to be appraised of that as we're moving forward. I think we all have a vested interest in ensuring our agricultural community is surviving through this. Along those lines, even though fires are still, you know, going on, with the smoke is dissipated for the most part in this area of the state, but we still have fires in the state. We are starting the process of recovery. And some of you may know that I'm part of the Regional Solutions Advisory Team for the Mid-Valley, which is 3 counties, including Marion County and up the San Ynez Canyon. So we are beginning the process of providing input for FEMA resources through the governor's commissions, both on Racial Justice Council Commission and in the Disaster Recovery, Wildfire Recovery group that she's setting up. And the Regional Solutions Team will be starting to meet weekly to provide some input into where and how that money is allocated to best serve the citizens who are greatly impacted from both infrastructure, worker training and development, and all of the things that we come to rely on for a strong, robust economy. So that is a new thing. Regional Solutions has been around for quite a while. For a while, we had set up a economic recovery team as part of the COVID process, but now Regional Solutions is going to get more involved directly on a weekly basis with the governor's office and provide some input. So I welcome anything. They're all public meetings, and it looks like we're still working out the timeline, but looks like we'll be meeting on Thursdays weekly just to go and evaluate and make recommendations, like I said, to the governor. So that is the next emphasis. We're right in the middle of legislative days. I see Rep. Gomberg joined us, and I'm sure he's in between committee meetings, probably just like I am. So we're all staying busy with updates from the executive branch and listening to potential legislative concepts for the 2021 session. So we're a lot of balls in the air right now. But if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Looks like Joya has a question for you.
I read an article that said, thank you, Rep. Noble, for being here today, that was talking about how cap and trade is a dead issue at the legislature. Is that true?
I don't know. I read the same article. I had heard that Representative Carn Power, who has been pretty much pushing from at least on the House side, the resident expert made a statement to that effect. But I mean, I don't know. I think if cap and trade is not going forward in this next session, I don't think that means that we're not doing anything to reduce our carbon footprint.
Right.
The environmental health and welfare.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I hope that I hope to see some of the Wildfire Response Council recommendations come forward to all of you as well. And Representative Gomberg and Representative Noble, you may know more about whether there are any of the recommendations are being considered for the long session.
I think we're still early in the process.
Gotcha. Okay, other comments or questions for Representative Noble? All right, thank you, and I'll see you on Friday. And Representative Gomberg, what would you like to tell people today? And it's really good to see you back with your fully, like, I think this is actually your home behind you.
Amazing, isn't it? There was a time when I wasn't sure, quite candidly. You know, I heard that question about cap and trade, and I saw Representative Noble smiling as he said that it's early in the process. If any of you are fans of The Princess Bride, I will tell you that nothing is ever completely dead in the Oregon legislature. Sometimes it's only mostly dead. So we will see what's happening. And I appreciate your comments about smoke issues in the valley and the fires. I will just share with you, and this isn't a story about me, it's a story about the people that have lost so much out here. But I can give you my own example, and that is that over the Labor Day weekend, we lost our power. And after 2 days without power, at 6 in the morning, our sheriffs came through the neighborhood announcing that we had to go. And so with less than an hour's time, we implemented our plan. We grabbed our go kit, we grabbed our pets, our essential papers, a few precious mementos, and fled as the flames came over the hillside. We have lost now 300 homes in North Lincoln County. On my own road, we've lost a third of the properties. But that's only part of the story. It's the most devastating part of the story. But the other part is that another third of the properties where I live have lost their wells, either because the wiring has melted or the well house is burned down because it wasn't immediately next to the house. So there's that problem. And now as we start to talk about recovery, before we can begin to talk recovery, we have to talk about cleaning up. And most of the properties that we have lost here have been older, single-wide mobile homes, which means asbestos, and it means insulation, and it means PVC, and a lot of other contaminants. And essentially, the fire departments have indicated that there's two kinds of debris here. There is metal, and there is contaminant. And we don't have enough people currently that are licensed to remove all of that material, and we're not sure we've got a place to take it to. So those are some of the kind of issues that we're discussing right now, with a forecast of 2 inches of rain along the coast before Friday. And a lot of that stuff is going to wash into either our groundwater or to our streams and rivers. So there's a great deal of concern about how we move forward. There are about 400 individuals that the Red Cross has sheltered in local hotels. And certainly many, many more have been taken in by friends and relatives from throughout the area. So there's a lot to discuss as we talk about how to come through this. The best news is that nobody died. We're not aware of anybody that is missing out here, and that's really very positive news. The other side of that coin is that small business here just can't seem to catch a break. We've got COVID, we've got the economic downturns, and now we've got the fires. If we lose 300 homes, that's workforce housing. And so that means that we're going to have even more problem finding and keeping qualified employees. My friend Representative Noble mentioned we're in the midst of legislative days and committee meetings going on. On Friday, the emergency board will meet. I believe this is our 9th meeting so far this year of an organization that I don't think met twice in the last 2 years. There are 60 items on the agenda, and I would encourage you to take a look through them if there's anything there of particular interest to you. Some of them deal with housing, some of them deal with wildfire suppression, some of them dealing with OLCC and providing them with some new resources. There's some stuff on there to provide enhanced testing and a faster response rate to your inquiries. So an awful lot on the e-board agenda. Meanwhile, the policy committees are meeting and reviewing a lot of other issues in preparation for the very quickly approaching, excuse me, long session of 2021. So I can't wait for 2020 to be in hindsight, my friends. Any questions for me about that or anything else?
Well, I want to say that, I mean, there are a lot of other people who can speak for themselves, but I sure am glad that you're safe and your family is safe. And since all of my friends and relations live out, or many of them live out on Panther Creek and North Valley, I mean, in North Bank, I thank you for being their representative right now.
I know your mother was evacuated, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, my parents.
A third of Lincoln City was evacuated. We were evacuated for about 12 days, and we spent half of that believing the house was gone. It wasn't until about halfway through we learned that that the fire had gone to the edge of our driveway and all around us. But clearly the firefighters were focused on saving homes since they couldn't stop the fire. One of my neighbors said it was a miracle. I said, yeah, it was a miracle in a yellow shirt with a pump truck to back him up. A lot of people doing difficult, dangerous work out here, and we're seeing the results of it now. Didn't mean to cut you off, but thank you.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that a lot of people say, you can't know somebody's situation until you've walked a mile in their shoes. And Representative Gomberg has walked a mile in the shoes of a whole heck of a lot of people in your district now. So thank you for being with them, even though I wish you didn't have to have evacuated in order to feel the same thing as them. So thank you for being here with us amidst that.
Thank you.
And my curtain's blowing, so excuse me. Are there other questions or comments for Representative Gomberg? All right. Well, thank you, Representative. And I'm so glad you're well. I'm going to move on right now. I'm pretty sure it's Commissioner Mary Sterrett for an update on anything she'd like to tell members of the community.
Thank you, Commissioner, and everybody else for being on the call. I'll make it brief. A couple of things regarding our after action review through the Yamhill County Emergency Operations Center. They're in the process of Sergeant Young's in the process of working on that, but a couple of things we talked about immediately afterwards and some things that I had heard were that it was sort of a question in the different cities. How do you know when to go? How do you know how to get your partners involved and your stakeholders involved? But what we found out is that if the schools are concerned about whether or not to, I know, for instance, at George Fox, they had some concerns about, do we get buses? Do we get kids ready to evacuate? One of the things that's really important and that we identified is that these students throughout the county have to be on our emergency alert system because that's really one of the most important ways for us to reach people, and the system won't work if people aren't signed up. So what we're going to be doing is putting together a group in the Yamhill County Alert System, in our Everbridge Alert System for non-emergency updates, because right now it's just for critical emergency updates like evacuations. And what this will do is it will be sent out to city administrators. So they'll get more of an informational alert once we build that into the system. And then also we've got to get everybody signed up for this alert system. Otherwise, it's not going to do much good. So that's what we're working on now. And really, it's just a whole lot of work coming out of the Office of Emergency Management. And to make a comment about the wildfire insurance and for smoke mitigation on crops, one of the things that our Association of Oregon Counties recently sent out a letter to members of the House Committee on Natural Resources asking for more of a comprehensive forest policy, that we're going to continue to suffer the impacts of wildfire without that, just asking for more state leadership on a comprehensive basis. So we can do all the mop up and cleanup and mitigation and insurance and all kinds of stuff. But if we have a better wildfire approach and more of a comprehensive wildfire policy, we might be less likely to see these events. So we'll be pushing back on trying to get some state leadership on that. And I have to run, so I'm going to get off in a few minutes. So, but if there are any questions, about our Office of Emergency Management and our after action review. Can tell you where we're at right now.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Sterrett. Are there questions for Commissioner? Well, Commissioner, I will send to everyone else or to the roundtable the letter from the AOC, so they have an idea of what the AOC is committed to as well.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for joining us. And when you hop off, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, and then I'm going to go on to Mayor Hill. Actually, maybe I should go to Mayor Michael Cape of Amity, just in case he needs to leave us. He's on his work stuff, and he's in his mobile unit, I think. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, back in the mobile office. It's fun. And the great thing for us at work is our bus drivers get to see kids. They're out delivering meals every day. We have 60 different locations that we take buses to deliver meals. Last week, the first week that we did it, and only very few even knew about it on Monday and Tuesday, but still our weekly count was over 12,000 meals delivered last week. So that was a great start for us. The drivers are loving the fact that they get to interact with kids again. Kids seem to be happy to have somebody to interact with, and they get their chocolate milk and all that kind of wonderful stuff that kids love to do. And so it's a great thing for us to get to do that. And then the other big thing that I'm involved with is still the ongoing shuttling of National Guard troops around the state to help fight the fires. We are right now expecting our last shuttle back into Salem, bringing guardsmen back from Chiloquin. They were supposed to go out to Paisley, but they must be getting the Paisley fire under control, so they're coming back home instead, which is a great thing to hear. I believe all the ones that we've taken out to either Lincoln City, Glide, Roseburg, and Chiloquin have all come back or are shortly due back. So we're just really happy to get to be able to play a small part in that. I know all the drivers that have been selected for all those different trips are very honored to get to do that and just to play a small role in that process. So so that's the ongoing work that we have in Salem-Keizer. And as Commissioner Kula did mention at the start, a bit of nice news is our superintendent of the Salem-Keizer School District yesterday was awarded the Superintendent of the Year for the state of Oregon from, I don't know what the association's called, but it's the superintendents group from across the state. So nice that we get to have somebody local from around here recognized for the good work that she does for all the kids and staff and families here in Salem-Keizer. For the city of Amity, I don't have a whole lot left to update. There was some police activity yesterday in town that got a lot of buzz on at least on Facebook, and a lot of calls into City Hall. There was an assault on an individual in town. The sheriff's deputies and detectives were involved, made a couple of arrests, and to me, the positive that comes out of this is our relationship with the Yamhill County Sheriff's Office. The work that they did, they were able to react and move quickly and decisively, and it looks like they still have some stuff to finish up on the investigation, but while it has not always been a 100% agreed across the table that everybody loves the move from the Amity Police Department to the Yamhill County Sheriff's Office in Amity, that at least in this case, it proved to be a valuable asset to have people in place that knew what to do and how to do it and to handle that case. So everybody in town, I believe, is still safe everything was taken care of, so that's all good. But that's the big news for Amity. I'm sorry. One other quick. We announced our mini grant for coronavirus relief for businesses in Amity. It's not a huge project, but it's some of those the federal dollars Amity share. You know, we got a chunk of that we've used for some stuff for the city, and then the rest of that money we wanted to use to help the businesses in Amity, and we have had a group working a long time to try and figure out a system to make that work, and just announced that this week. I believe applications are open through Friday, and we're going to award several mini grants, hopefully to some businesses that can use that assistance. So that is a big positive thing that I would have been reluctant to miss mentioning. So I think that's all I got.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Are there questions for the mayor? All right, great. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to go to Mayor Scott Hill, the city of McMinnville. Welcome, and what would you like to tell people today?
Thank you, Commissioner, and those that are on the call. Thank you for the rain, okay? Over the weekend, it was welcomed. And as many of you have seen, you know, the particulates, although we still have some air quality problems, it's not near what we've had. And I was in an event Saturday that it was raining, and I was glad just to be out and getting drenched. And so the one piece that I did do is I felt comfortable enough to clean or take our filters out of our heat pump this weekend and pulled that out, and it was dirty, really dirty. So I replaced that. So I just throw that out, that may be something that our citizens may want to do given what we've just gone through. I want to do a shout out to Yamhill County Emergency Management, to Brian, Carol, and Ken, and then out at the fairgrounds, Gary and Lacey. What a job that they did. And then all the volunteers throughout the county that has come out to help those that are in need. I think it's very indicative of the county that we live in, people thinking outside of themselves during times of need and giving. And so, again, I just would shout out and say thank you. I also would let our representatives know how appreciative as a mayor I was, and I would guess that Casey and Mary may be the same way, of the communication that the state provided during the wildfires. We had communications on an every evening basis if it was necessary, and it wasn't just fluff. I mean, we had the department heads of all the critical agencies walking away and just knowing that communication was coming. You know, McMinnville was very, very protective when it came to the fires. I had a friend up on Bald Peak and on McCormick Road, and they were less than a quarter of a mile from the flames, and they had to evacuate. And I talked to them, and they are very supportive of everything that's going on. But the state coordination and communication was very, very helpful. I think what I would like to just spend a few moments on is much like Andy, we're working through our business assistance program, and we've extended the application period, and we shortly will be going through all of those applications and making determinations. Again, we have about $200,000 that we're going to be able to assist our local businesses with. Met with the Downtown Association yesterday, and Dave indicated, and I wanted to share that with everyone, that given the rain that's coming, our Dine Out McMinnville is only going to be going through the last weekend in September. So next weekend will be the last weekend. We're going to expand our farmers market 2 additional weeks because of the incidences of the particulates in the air. But again, all good things from that perspective. People helped the businesses, and we were able to use the streets. I think it was a best practice that was out there. Last thing that I'd like just to share is last Thursday night we had a council work session, and we had two items on our agenda that I think might be important for our citizens to know about. The first one, we were dealing with the budget and what the reserve guidelines are going to be for McMinnville. We've been kind of all over the board. We've been very conservative in carrying a lot in our reserves. And then over the last, I'd say 5 years, we have utilized those funds trying to determine what is the right amount to be holding in reserves, because if you hold it in reserves, you're not being able to spend it and helping your community. And so I think as of last Thursday, we have narrowed it down to, I'm thinking somewhere that's going to be around a 15% reserve balance, which equates to about 2 months worth of operation. And it may be 20%, and 2.5 months of operation. But we're getting really close to that. And so anyone that would like to see the tape on that and be brought up to speed, our discussion around budget reserves, it was about an hour and a half discussion. And then we went into an hour and a half discussion on the UGB. And as many know, we're working through a process of the remand of our UGB from 2011. And we're down to what parcels of land do we want to include in our remand back to LCDC. And we had a number of options that we looked at, and I think we've narrowed that down. We've asked the staff to do a little more refinement before it comes back to us in a council meeting in October. The next piece, and I was talking to Joya a little bit about UGB, and we thought it would be really appropriate just to talk a little bit about it today. But after we have determined what direction the council wants to go and the best mode and direction to get the remand approved, we then will be going and having a joint meeting with the Yamhill County Commissioners. And then they're going to have to agree with us that this is the way to go, because we're utilizing land that is out in the county. And I'm sure that's going to be a very lively discussion, maybe. But again, understanding the whole intent of why we're doing this is so that we're going to be able to have the required statutory requirement of 20 years of land in our UGB, so that we can plan appropriately. And the end result is you have more land, then the demand is satisfied, supplies higher, prices will come down. We can then be looking at affordability issues that are plaguing us and plaguing the whole state. And so again, our intent, if everything moves the way we'd hope, and we don't know because we still have to have that discussion with the county, we anticipate that the remand will be into LCDC by December 31st, and then it's out of our hands. So I just wanted to share, because there's a lot of angst out there. There's a lot of people that are following that, and again, being able to go in and watch our discussions on the YouTube of MCM, you could be brought up to that. Both of those discussions, about an hour and a half each. It was a long night, 3 hours going through that. So again, Councilor or Council President Menke might be able to add a few things that I may have overlooked on the UGB. But any questions that anyone would have of me? Joya?
Joya.
Mayor, would you tell us what LCDC is, please, and also the difference between that and LUBA? Because LUBA is something different, right?
Right.
Thanks.
Again, LCDC, Land Corporation of Development. Casey, help me.
There's the Department of Land Conservation and Development, and then they have their advisory board, which is the Land Conservation Commission, yes. The LCD.
And so,
although Representative Gomberg might get me corrected on this one.
Yeah, we've got someone in the know. David?
DLCD is the Department of Land Conservation and Development. D Department of Land Conservation and Development. Then you have the advisory board, which is the LCDC, the Conservation Development Commission.
Right, and it's much as we look at ODOT's the same way. We have the Department of Transportation, and then we have the Commission that policy and direction, and so that's kind of how it is. But they're quasi judicial, and they're making sure that we fall in line with the state ramifications on land use management.
Yeah, and I think LUBA is Land Use Board of Appeals.
Yeah. So all these acronyms that we throw out all the time. Any other questions? Joya, did that take care of that one? Okay.
These are great things that the public should know about, because some people really care about one of these or the other, and yeah, it's awesome. So thank you for bringing this discussion to the fore.
Good.
Any other comments from Mayor? Okay, great. Thank you very much, Mayor, for that. And I did like to note that both our fairgrounds staff and our Office of Emergency Management did some really great updates for the Board of Commissioners this last week. That's also available on the Yamhill County YouTube channel. And if you go to meetings at the Yamhill County webpage, you can click on the little cute little piece of film, as though it was film. And that's the icon to click on to watch us. So, you know, it's a rousing good time. Okay, thank you. I want to check to see whether Councilor Minke or Councilor Drabkin has anything to add for the city.
I don't. I could talk a little bit about the wine industry as it relates to the wildfires, and I don't know if I missed Joyce, but I know Joyce has information on that as well. So I think the main thing that I want to share is that there's been a lot of questions about whether or not this vintage will be affected by the wildfires. And the main thing that I want to say is it's really just too early to know that. Don't count on it. It could be affected. It does not mean it will be affected. And the other wonderful thing is that the Oregon Wine Board, Willamette Valley Wineries Association have all taken very active roles in disseminating information, working with the Australian Wine Research Institute, and working with a lot of organizations out of California, all who have a lot of experience with smoke. So we've had a whole new round of educational webinars happening. I was in one with the Oregon Wine Board the other day that had over 400 attendees. So there's really good information going out to the wine industry. So, you know, I think the message that we want to get out is to not discount this vintage. Still expect great Oregon wine to be coming out of the 2020 vintage. And harvest is in full swing. I'm sure in the area you have started to see those trucks rattling around with fruit bins. And that's all I got. Thank you. Sure, Joya.
I don't know if Representative Gomberg. No, Representative Gomberg, did you have a question? I don't want to jump in front of you.
Oh, no, that's very kind and not necessary. I was just going to add that some of you remember the story from last year of a number of wineries or vineyards in Southern Oregon whose contracts were canceled because of smoke taint, quote unquote. And some Oregon wineries purchased those grapes and turned them into a very successful Solidarity vintage to benefit those wineries. The point is that I wanted to bring up is that in that process, we learned a lot about smoke taint and how to salvage the fruit there. So I too am encouraged and hopeful for the coming harvest, and looking forward to the continued success of our local wineries. We've learned a lot, and we just shouldn't throw up our hands in fear and run away when the skies are smoky. We can still make some great wines.
And I'd like to note that this I don't know if this surprises people or not, but Representative Gomberg is one of the experts and most knowledgeable people in the legislature about the wine industry. So he knows what he's talking about. But Joya, you had your comment too.
I just wanted to understand a little bit, Councillor Drapkin, if you could talk briefly about what happens to the wine if it gets smoke tainted. Obviously it changes the flavor, right? Does it taste like an ashtray or something? I don't know.
There's a whole range of effects that are possible, but potential smoke effects have everything to do from where the smoke is coming from, how thick it is, how long it's there, what stage the ripening the grapes are at, the constant, I mean, there are easily 50 plus factors, including what was burning, makes an impact on whether or not grapes will be affected. So it's really, it's one of those things that it's a lot easier to be scared of, and in a way it's kind of a boogeyman when you think about the reputation of, say, California Cabernet, and has anybody stopped drinking California Cabernet? Right, and they no longer have, they just have a wildfire season now, and they have smoke every year. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. And I think ultimately it, there's a lot of research that's been done. There's analysis that can be done. There's winemaking that can be done. And again, it's not a given. And then there are tools to mitigate possible effects. So don't be scared of the boogeyman. Keep drinking Oregon wine.
The best wine. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Councillor Drapkin. And we'll team up on getting Joyce and Congresswoman to put smoke taint in there, just in case. Okay, great. Thank you very much. And now I'd love to move on to Joya Goodrum from McMinnville Chamber of Commerce. What would you like to tell people in the community?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for letting me be here again. I also would like to say special thanks out there to emergency management and also all the businesses that stood up to take in evacuees, and because I think we got over 400 spaces for RVs if we needed them here in McMinnville. And so I'm really proud of our businesses for stepping up to help that. And of course, they had the restaurants that were cooking food and donating, and I'm just very proud of how our community stood up. And I thought emergency management did a fabulous job. So and also the county commissioners, because I know you all worked really hard through that week of chaos, or was it 2 weeks? I don't remember. Lastly, I know that, well, I mentioned we're doing a business support series of webinars for members. We have Heather Richards coming to speak about UGB. We also have Brian Young coming to talk about elections, so I'm really looking forward to that. And then we have someone coming to speak about cybersecurity, and we've got a couple of other things going on. And I know Abisha is not here today, but I know that we're kind of thinking about working on another grant proposal. So there's money available out there, and there's also a third or fourth round of funding from Willamette Workforce Partners, or partnership rather. So if there are businesses who are looking for some kind of support, they can contact the chamber or go to https willwp.org, right? Is that right? Yeah. So anyway, that's all I got. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joya. I think that maybe Mayor Hill was going to correct you on one point, but he muted himself again. So
I will do it. Instead of Brian Young coming to talk about elections, even though there could be fires and emergencies, it was.
Thank you. It's Brian Van Bergen. Brian Young on my brain. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh.
And I'd like to note that if you want to hear more from Brian Van Bergen, today is your day, because he's on the fireside chat at KXCR Florence. So with our dear Senator Roblin. So he will be speaking about elections and all kinds of things about elections. So tune in. And I'd also like to note, Joya, it's weird to thank yourself, so I'm going to thank you, which is that Joya and the McMinnville Chamber of Commerce staffed the out-of-county resident hotline at Emergency Management.
Oh, yeah.
And that's huge. In addition to Joya also finding RV parking spaces throughout the city of McMinnville and really through the county, but they also took a direct step and manned that hotline so that people who were in our community who didn't know where to turn because this is a new place for them had somebody to talk to.
That was our ambassador. So kudos to our ambassadors. Thank you. They are fabulous. Thank you.
I got the call from the sheriff talking about how to organize this as I was going into a commissioner meeting. And I was like, that sounds great. Do it. So thank you. And
It was my pleasure.
A lot of residents in Lincoln County were grateful for that as well.
Good. I'm glad. Happy to help.
Yeah. All right. Any last closing thoughts? Again, it's so good to have Representative Gomberg safe and well and the people of your community. It means so much to people to know that you're there with them. So thank you very much. There's a lot of thanks out there, right? We're going to get through another disaster all together. So we will see you next week. We're doing well on COVID. Keep your things small, and Mayor Cape has something he needs to say.
Yes, it's my wife's birthday, so I wanted to publicly tell everybody happy birthday, and thank you for putting up with me all these years.
Happy birthday.
Also, just wanted to recognize, even though we're kind of, at least the high schools are competing entities, you know, it was nice to see that Dayton Fire Department was able to donate that truck to Detroit, I think it was, Idana. So what a great thing to see. Thank you, Representative.
Yes, it was so great. And I love that immediately afterwards, somebody asked, hey, don't we need that fire engine? So I will pass that those thanks on to Mayor Wojtowski as well, since she is not able to be here right now. But with that, remember, folks out in the community, the people who are here are working for you every day, and we're going to get through this with all of your help and with them. So we will see you next week. Thank you very much.